Well, look what I just found munching on my Abe Lincoln. You little rascal. How did you get here? Actually, I have not done my black light inspection lately. I've come to realize just how difficult it is to videotape this bed. It's a sea of green, and it's really hard to get good angles and capture exactly what I'm seeing. There's a lot going on in this tomato bed. This one doesn't look like it's, well, you know, it's new to me. It's a pineapple tomato. So I was gonna say the coloring looks kind of weird. I was wondering if maybe it had blossom end rot, but I'm looking at the bottom and I don't see any problems. I mean, the bottom doesn't look awesome either, but I don't think that's blossom end rot. That's just how it looks. There's another couple on this one, and they do have a different coloration than a lot of my others do. I really like seeing all the different varieties that there are to have in tomatoes. I had neglected the tomato beds, so I came out earlier today and took out a lot of the suckers and tied the tomatoes up at least as high as I could reach. I need to come out here with a little ladder and take care of the tip top. I suspect this is going to want to grow taller than this stake, so I do not know what I'm going to do once it exceeds the length of the stake. I may just let the top flop over, or I may cut them. Yikes, I've never done that before, but this year at least I have so many tomatoes that if I terminate the main central vine, I don't think it'll be very heartbreaking because I have a lot of plants and they're all doing really well. I've been able to pick a few tomatoes, which makes me super happy. And the other thing that makes me really happy is how big a lot of the fruit is. It's no longer deep green, it's starting to get to be a lighter color of green, which tells me that there's going to be more blushing happening very soon. So I've kind of cleaned this bed up. I haven't done the same with the other beds that have tomatoes, but I will get to those soon. But I just love, as I mentioned, how large the tomatoes are. And I'm pretty sure that that has a lot to do with how I'm growing them, which basically is not doing them in cages, keeping them on a single vine and pruning them heavily so that that I can grow them closer together as well. But mostly it seems to really change the size of the fruit. I did see some experiments done by gardeners that I follow on YouTube. I think that a few of them possibly have done side-by-side comparisons, and when they did, they found that they would get more tomatoes when they didn't prune and grow close like this, but the size is different when you do it this way. This, you can't, I don't know if you can tell how big this tomato is. It's, the one in the back especially is as big as my hand. And these are the ox hearts. So when I slice them, when they finally do turn red, they're going to be heart-shaped slices, which I think is just adorable. So the tomatoes are doing very well indeed. The other thing that I find kind of exciting is how well the Kajari melon's growing up this trellis without too much intervention from me. It seems to know that it's supposed to grow on it. I have come in today and done a little bit of adjusting here and there to make sure it stays on the trellis. But you can see that I've got some little female flowers. Well, these are closing up now, so my hope is that at least one of these possibly may have been, at least one of them may have been germinated. Oh, it's so hard to get in here with the camera. Well, here's one here. Got one here, and then there's a number of them back there. There's one back there, and there's one over there. So I'm hoping that I'll get a melon or two. I mean, I would prefer to get more than one. It's that time of year where the powdery mildew really becomes a problem. This is a patty pan squash. This is the worst it's looked. Today was the day I really noticed we've kind of gone over the bridge into mildew. So I'm going to be coming out and trimming back a lot of these leaves, trying to leave only these nice, fresh, non-mildewed leaves. And that'll help me in another way. I keep missing squashes in here. I've noticed with the patty pan, if they turn sideways, for some reason I don't notice them, and I just miss them until they're ginormous, which is fine. They'll still be edible, but I think they taste better when they're younger. I've also got honeydew that's doing its thing and growing up the other side of the same trellis that the Kajari melon are on. Ooh, I just noticed I think I have a female flower. That may be the first one. Or a female, maybe there's another one down here. Yes, there's one right here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yep, there it is. One of them looks old and it does not look like it got pollinated. So the tomatoes over here are going crazy. These are Romas. This one on the end is not a Roma, it's a triple crop. But it's not labeled climbing triple crop. I had 2 different packages of seeds, and these don't seem to be as vigorous growth as the other one. And there's San Marzanos back there. So just to give you an idea, I'll step back. This is the triple crop, and it goes up, you know, pretty high. It's not to the top of its stake by any means, but the other one, the climbing triple crop, is this monster here. So it's not really gone very tall. You can see the one I was considering to be my main leader is this one, and it's not to the top of the stake, but what it's done is it sent out all these side seriously aggressive branches that I did not cut off because I didn't think they would do this. I didn't think they were going to fight for dominance, for world dominance. The vining thing, if I can just hold them in with ties, I'm not worried about it too much. What is making me happy is the size of these fruits. Those are gonna be delicious. The rest of this is all cherries, which in the past for me, the cherry vines have actually been the ones that grew the most vigorously. That's a little bit untrue. I did notice a couple of my heirlooms really went crazy too, but the cherries just seem to really go crazy. So this one's got tons of fruit on it, and the others are growing way up there past the top of their stake. So we've got some down here that are starting to blush a bit, and those are just a standard red cherry tomato. And then behind them you can kind of see down there some yellow. Those are my yellow pears. Last year my tomatoes did very poorly overall, and I grew most of them in pots. I was trying to do that thing where you don't grow the same thing in the same spot, and with only 3 beds that didn't leave me with a lot of options. And so what I did was I used this whole section where the new metal beds are. I called it Powdery row because I just had a lot of very large pots which I grew tomatoes in, and they did terribly. They were prone to so much trouble. I had spider mites, I had a lot of scorching. I wasn't proactive with the covering of the tomato plants like I have been this year, and even though these are not the prettiest covers, it's a great solution because I'm not having near the trouble I was having. Now, of course, we haven't hit the hottest part of our summer yet. We're in August, and usually mid to late August and into September, even trailing into October, we hit a really bad bunch of heat. So we'll see what happens. And then this one, again, I've mentioned in the past, this is not mildewed. This is a Durrani squash, and this is a perfectly healthy leaf. They do not show any signs of mildew. In fact, there might be one under there that has a little mildew. I can't tell from here, not looking through the camera, but these darker ones, they're all the Durrani. And the Durrani squash has been very productive. There's a few coming along right now. I think there's 3 or 4 in there, and I've enjoyed it. It's not a, I haven't really been able to distinguish it as, you know, outstanding, other than the growth. The growth's been awesome. I'm thrilled to see several little lemons, and I mean they are little, but I think I've got a total of 7 maybe on this plant that are ready to grow. I should say on this branch. I actually have a larger one over on this side, and for the longest time that was the only one on here. All of a sudden I got a bunch of little blossoms, and this is the result of those blossoms. And it's a dwarf Eureka, semi-dwarf. And I'm happy to have it because I have a Meyer lemon tree, and I love having that, but Meyer lemons don't always cut it. When you need the acidity and the sourness of a regular lemon, the Meyer's just too sweet. This one here is a Mexican lime, and you can see I've got lots of little limes coming along too, which is awesome because we use both lemons and limes weekly in the kitchen. And I like the idea that if we need one, we can just run outside and grab one. I'm really impressed with how large my grapevine has grown. I want to say this is a Concord grape, but honestly, I don't remember. It was a clearance plant, and it looked really bad for a while. It was in a very small pot, not even a 1 gallon, I don't think. And I've put in a couple of little zinnias in here, and they've managed to make it. I have a matching pot on this side of my trellis, and all the zinnias I planted here died, as well as the lobelia. All those little yellow brown things you see are lobelia that looked so pretty when I put them in. I also had planted a few of these sunset runner beans, and that's the only one that's lived, and I don't think it's long for this world. I have one wee little fig coming on my fig tree, and I'm hoping that it stays on the tree long enough to ripen. The last one, the only other one it gave me, was delicious. Ooh, and one of my dahlias that I thought died is looking like it's coming back. My other dwarf fruit trees are not giving fruit, and I did not expect them to, but they look pretty healthy, and that's making me happy. These are some little Thumbelina zinnias that I planted in with my baby blueberry bushes. The bushes are so tiny that I'm sure they're just going to disappear behind these zinnias. I don't even know if you can see it. There's the blueberry right there, and then the one over here, same thing. But maybe they'll appreciate a little bit of shade from these zinnias, and I'll certainly appreciate the beauty of the zinnias. And they won't be here that long because I planted them very late, so they're just a little temporary measure. This is a plant that I don't think I'll grow again. This is purple Russian, and I feel like last year they were one of the worst ones. I wished I'd made notes. I had one tomato, one of the tomatoes that I grew, every time a tomato would start to redden or to blush, it would crack open. And I did not have irregular watering last year. My watering was really good. It just seemed like the tomato, I don't know, it just couldn't handle something. I see a little crack in this one. The others seem okay, but they're still pretty green. They've got a little bit of growing to do yet, and they've still got to turn red. So I will comment that the vine looks horrible. The vine looks horrible all the time, and it always looks like it needs to be watered. It's always curled, and it usually has a lot of brown leaves on it. I tend to like to cut those off, but I'm not impressed. I think it was a package of free seeds. Baker Creek will send you a package of free seeds when you place an order. So it was no skin off my nose to grow it, and I did give it a second shot, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to find room for this one in the future. Anyone need some purple Russian tomato seeds? And these are my Cherokee purples. They are a favorite, and I'm a little wee bit disappointed that I don't have more fruit on this plant. I mean, that is quite a few tomatoes. There's what, 7 there, and there's another one on this side, and there's potential for more, but the plant's not very big right now. The plant only comes, maybe 4 feet. We'll see what it can do as summer progresses. I really like the coloration on this tomato, the way it looks kind of stratified. It's called large barred boar, like as in the animal boar, B-O-A-R. And I purchased this as a start at the local university farm store. We have a Cal Poly agriculture campus, and they have a farm store where you can buy all sorts of tomatoes and other plants. So this one's got me very intrigued. I'm definitely going to be saving seeds on this one. This is a little postscript to the tomato jungle video. We've got blushing happening. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to tune in, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye now. Oh, well, I guess with the flash you're not going to be able to see what the black light does. But if you don't know, black lights are a great way to go on a tomato horn. In case you're not aware of it, black lights make it very easy to go on a tomato hornworm hunt. After the sun sets, they glow in the black light and they are easier to find.